150,000 Illinois staff participants will lose their benefits tomorrow because of new stricter rules that were put in place in the Trump administration's so-called One Big Beautiful bill. So it requires all able-bodied adults 64 or younger to meet some new work requirements to keep their food stamp benefits by either working, volunteering, or going to school for at least 80 hours a month. If they don't, they lose their benefits entirely on May 1st, again tomorrow, unless they qualify for an exemption. So for more on this, let's bring in Danielle Perry, Vice President of Policy and Advocacy at the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're really down to the wire here. I know a big concern for your organization is families tomorrow not being able to buy food for their families. We had the work requirements go into effect in February, but tomorrow the cutoffs begin. What should people know this morning right now?
They should know it's not too late. You can still file an exemption. On the state's website, abe.illinois.gov, you can check and see if you're exempt. It takes like 60 seconds. So everyone who's hearing this should check and see if they're exempt. And if you are, get that exemption form in today.
And some of those exemptions, what are they? What are the most common types that people might be exempt for?
Most common is having a physical or mental ailment, but there's also one for caregivers, for people who may be a caregiver for someone under 6 or with someone with a disability. You could be pregnant, you could be in school part-time. There's so many, I couldn't name them all. That's why it's good to do the screener. It takes literally 60 seconds.
And if you go and do that screener, maybe someone you know, you tell them to go do the screener and they find out they are being cut off tomorrow, what's the next step then? Is it too late at that point?
It's not too late because you can get back on the program. Okay. So if, let's say, you are kicked off, you have a month to show that you have been working the 80 hours or volunteering the 80 hours or participating in a job program. Once you can show that, we can get you back into the program.
And I know right now the Greater Chicago Food Depository and so many groups are really trying to alert families about this because a lot of people still don't know or still are going to be impacted. But let's talk about the impact for local grocers too. I know so many of their customers rely on these SNAP benefits to buy food.
That's right. We see some of these grocers or even the local corner store has 20–30% of their revenue come from SNAP. So this hit could mean they have to roll back jobs or increase prices on the rest of us. And in some places, they will close.
And that is horrible, of course, especially for your local shops, you know, run by your local families. But then there's the ripple effect because you got your pantry, like you guys, the biggest, really, and you're expecting long lines there in the coming days.
Absolutely. So we have hundreds of partners throughout Cook County, and we are letting them know we are bracing for an increase. And we do believe there will be long lines, but we are going to provide more food to all of our pantries so that they can get ready.
And one last question before we go. You're already seeing a strain, though, in resources, right, because of the higher prices for food in general?
That's right. We are already also seeing increased need. The lines are already long. We're already seeing, on average, almost 200,000 households a month. So you can expect that to increase because of this cut.
All right, again, that cutoff tomorrow, May 1st. Danielle Perry, Vice President of Policy and Advocacy at the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey. Shalom, shalom, shalom. So you seen the video at the beginning, right, of my lesson. And millions of people now are not on SNAP like that anymore compared to 3 years ago. And I'm going to bring up some statistics too as well. But the number of recipients that have been dropped concerning May 1st, when it would be implemented. I think it's called the Big Beautiful Bill by Trump, right? And a lot of people are losing. I actually saw another video too of a woman was inside a store just grabbing the shit and just stealing it, literally stealing it. And it's like it gets to a point where people become feel like they're entitled to it. But no, you're not entitled to it. You know what I'm saying? It just goes to show you that the society we live in, talking about so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, primarily, like, you know, this is not your rest. Even though as of right now, just as citizens, everyone's struggling here as Americans. But we cannot forget on how America was built. All right. And don't forget the government funding these agencies. It all started for the white woman, the Caucasian woman, the Edomite woman, the biblically Edomite woman. Going back to the early 1920s and 30s when their husbands were dying in those caves, women back then weren't working. So they had government assisting programs for them. You black women today that be all big and bad and high and mighty living off the government, those programs were never for you. They actually implemented those more for you during the Great Society Act when Lyndon B. Johnson was ruling after they assassinated MLK. And y'all really thought feminism was for you? When you were treated like dogs too. Those women treated you like dogs too when you was in hardcore bondage, even to this very day. I mean, look at how they treat your daughters in school. They cut your daughter's hair without your permission. They say you can't wear baby edges, all this crazy stuff. You can't wear your eccentric hair. Come on now. But nonetheless, though, America, the mystery whore Babylon, the Bible is coming to a breaking point. And before I proceed, I want to give all the honor, glory, and praises to the Most High, Yahawah, and His only begotten Son, YAHAWASHI, whom the world ignorantly called Jesus, because the letter J in the English alphabet did not exist 2,000 years ago. You're dealing with scholars over here. Double honors to my elders at Great Millstone who taught me this truth through the Spirit and who rule well. Single honors to the elect. You men out there that's risking lives and freedoms to do so, like Elder Malcolm would say, to preach this truth in sincerity. And single honors and peace and blessings, I would say, also to the 1/3, which mainly consists of women and children and token men as well, but mainly women and children. So you can't say we're misogynist. I mean, we love women. We're heterosexual prophets. But anyhow, so let's get to this article really quick. Raw story: GOP advances another ICE blank check as millions lose food stamps. So they love war. They love oppression to the point that they will even starve their own people, in a sense, right? Don't get it twisted. The number one recipients of like WIC and SNAP and Section 8, Caucasian people. The United States county for government funding is Oswald County, Kentucky. I mean, just the state Kentucky alone lets you know, shoot, a whole bunch of white folks up there. But the county itself, populated by, I see what, 98% Caucasian folks, Edomites. 95% of them are being on government assistance. There's literally a documentary on it. But who they put up as the poster child? Us, right? But anyways, so House Republicans on Wednesday passed a budget resolution that sets the stage for GOP lawmakers to draft and approve more funding for immigration enforcement without any support from Democrats, who condemned the proposal as another blank check for rogue agencies, pretty much. The resolution, which cleared the GOP-controlled Senate last week, gives, I'm sorry, Republicans the ability to allocate up to $140 billion total to immigration and customs enforcement, which is ICE, and customs. I'm sorry, I said it twice. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. No, see, this something different. And customs and border patrol, CBP. Okay. I'm so like I just thought about it. CBP would have died. I just thought about it. Sorry. We got to get out of this place, y'all. We got to get out of this place. Agencies that President Donald Trump has unleashed on American cities with deadly consequences. Yeah. Republicans have said they plan to allocate roughly. Speaking of deadly consequences, remember that Edomite woman that had got popped in her car by ICE? Then kind of find out she was married to another woman. It's just, man, it just, sometimes you be like, oh man, they be like, hey, you was over there doing that Sodom and Gomorrah, wasn't you? I'm just saying in general, you know what I mean? No accidents in the universe. Continuing. Republicans have said they plan to allocate roughly $70 billion total to the immigration agencies, which Democrats have refused to fund through the normal appropriations process without form. So in other words, they just write blank checks for ICE, but while people out here gonna be starving because they figure like, they got money, we need to put money in other places. I remember they were talking to DJ Trump about daycare being funded by the state. Like, at this moment, we really just can't really fund daycare. I'm like, children are the fucking future, Israelite or heathen, and you saying you ain't got no money or time right now for the children? This place is crazy, man. So yeah, so pretty much I just want to break out this article really quick. They're going to show you that they got money for ICE and to constantly oppress you people here in America, mainly the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are Hebrew Israelites under the curses in Deuteronomy 28. We're going to get right into it. House Republicans passed their budget blueprint as new data showed that their first reconciliation package has spurred the steepest decline in supplemental nutrition assistance program participation in decades. In layman terms, since we came with this new criteria, less people are on Section 8. I wonder why. It's like a refined research. And analysis released Wednesday by the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities shows that SNAP participation fell by more than 3 million people across the U.S. between July 2025, that was last year, and January 2026. Y'all, let that sink in, y'all. That's only half a year, y'all. 3 million people had to been dropped because they didn't fit the criteria, right? And I think they went over the criteria in that video too. And I can also pull it up as well. The think tank noted that it took over 3 years for the caseload to drop by over 3 million people, or 7% between its peak in December 2012 and February. In February 2016, during the recovery following the Great Recession. This place is through, man. This place is not coming. It's never going to go back to what it is. Let's get to this quote. Quote, parents are already making impossible choices at the grocery store, skipping meals, stretching food, and worrying about how to feed their kids, unquote, said Aline Arieza, executive director of the advocacy group Parents Together. Quote, cutting WIC's fruit and vegetable benefit means taking fresh, healthy food off the plates of new mothers, babies, and young children at a time when families need more support, not less. That's absolutely true. Quote, you can't say you want to make America healthy again while reducing access to very foods that help children grow and thrive, Arieza added. And the reason why I'm bringing this article out is to also go into 2 Ezra chapter 9, verse 9 through 10. Then shall they be in pitiful case which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me. So SNAP benefits, WIC benefits, all of that. Y'all had all those benefits. Let's be honest though, like, there's people out there who really be needing assistance. They'll thank God. You know how the people do. Oh, thank God. People thank God for a job, but if you know you are Israelite, you a J, you be like, man, this is slavery, right? But nonetheless, though, people, they'll get this Section 8, they'll get WIC and all this and that. They may even thank God, but guess what they do? Go right back to their wickedness, right? So even in the benefits that you receive, do you really thank God? Because love is an action, you know what I'm saying? How you going to be on food stamps for 10, 15 years and you ain't came up yet? You ain't be saving no money yet for a house or something? A money down for a house for your children's college tuition to buy a car? Is you doing hair on the side or something? Man, I had it, man. Bless her soul, man. My only female best friend, Big Jen, she was on Section 8. And sometimes she barely could scrape up change for like $30 a month. And I'm not talking down on her or anything, but that's just, it's like when you just comfortable, when you feel like you don't really have to do anything like that, you know, you'll just, settle, I guess. But nonetheless, though, as you can see, hold on, let me go back. Going back to the title of this article, GOP advances another ICE blank check as millions lose food stamp. Last article, SNAP recipients down, unemployment up after new food stamp work requirements kick in. All right, Jacksonville, Florida. I'm residing here in Florida, Tampa, Florida right now. Florida's unemployment rate ticked up in March with more than 520,000 Floridians out of work and looking for a job. Meanwhile, the number of food stamp recipients have been steadily declining since the enactment of new work requirements, a new criteria. You know, people say, "Do you fit the criteria?" You know what that's like? That's like trying to ride at an amusement park. And you know that little sign that says you have to be this tall to ride this ride. A lot of people ain't tall enough to ride the ride. In other words, a lot of people are not qualified enough to receive their benefits. And you know what it really is? They just lazy as hell. You have to do like 80 hours a month of like community service or some kind of work, or you're going to school, showing you trying to show some kind of progress in life. If not, they're getting stripped from you. People got a problem with that. Cause now you gotta earn it. Cause it's taxpayers' money. It ain't really your money. Cause if it was your money, you wouldn't be working really. Well, some people working still be on it, but I don't know how that works. But people who really need to be on Section 8 and WIC and all that, listen here. I'm an Israelite. I'm a J. But I still ain't got it in my heart to see some elderly Caucasian woman, Edomite woman, or Asian woman, or Moabite woman starving or hurt. I wasn't raised like that. It's not even in my spirit. Hell, Jake, we are loving and caring people, man. Even after everything that happened to us, we still love and care everybody else, man. And they can't see how we can do that, right? We just know when to turn up, but that's besides the point. You know, I think that stuff should be for elderly people, for children, and for like the disabled. That's what I think it is. You got able-bodied people out here fighting in the street, but they got a WIC goddamn card in their back pocket. What the fuck? Anyway, Salaki, forgive me, y'all. Eating on mukbangs, and I'm just continuing. Data from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities shows nearly 70,000 Floridians stopped receiving food stamps after new work requirements kicked in on February 1st. People, there are over like 330 something, maybe more now. 330. I always use this number though. 330 something million people in America. But when you think about 70,000 people without receiving food, it's probably more because the one person receiving the food could be for the whole family. Just imagine 70,000 hungry people. I've done research on the mentality of people when they're starving. You get the day 5 and 7, man. You start hallucinating. They say people started eating themselves. People start hearing voices. People take their lives. So that, in other words, people will go to drastic measures when it comes to survival. Okay. So this kicked off in February 1st. Food stamp participation is down by more than 3 million nationwide since the enactment of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act in July of last year. Okay, so them 3 million had happened for, like I said, from that short period of time. The short period. In total, more than 450,000 Floridians have stopped receiving food stamps since the enactment of the OBB. I want to make sure I say all 3 B. OBBBA. You down with OBB? And you know me. Salaki, I just had to, y'all. Forgive me. I'm a Jake, man. Forget that. Anyhow, UNF sociology professor Jenny Stuber argued, she's a stubborn woman. I'm joking. Stuber argued the new work. I keep thinking it's New York. New work for a SNAP beneficiary included in the act may be driving the decline. Exactly. Get your asses up and do something if you want to. If you earn it. All right. So she argued the drop in SNAP enrollees will almost certainly cause ripple effects like additional strains on food pantries and other community assisted programs. The video that played right before I started edifying, I think a lady said like they were getting like such and such amount of people before the food stamps cut off. Now that the food stamps cut off, they said we won't even have enough food in the pantry. You know, man, it's getting wild out here, y'all. You know, even my aunt, she been like cleaning condos for years. She has her own house and everything. My auntie, she's good. She's well off. She's just not married though. But she has a child. She has children grown. She has great grandkids now. My auntie's looking good and everything. But you know what she still do? She'll still go by the food pantry. Cause my auntie picked cotton with my great grandmother back in the 60s, y'all. Yeah, she used to pick cotton as a little girl. Yeah, I love my aunt, man. She from a different cloth, man. I'm telling you, that burlap cloth. but But yeah, she still go to the food pantries. Yeah. I'm telling y'all, man, y'all better realize, man. Let me get to it. People are hungry. People need to eat. And moving around work requirements doesn't necessarily address that at all. And rather, you might see more churches and more societal civic organizations absorb some of that need. All right. And it's just really popping off. So let me read these couple of precepts and I'm going to close out. Second Ezra 16, verse 18 through 22. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. If someone ever said, I'm famished, that means that they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're malnourished, they need something to get their energy up, you know. The beginning of wars and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Right? Behold, famine and plague, yeah, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So people who are going to starve, right? People who are going to be plagued with sicknesses, viruses, people who are going to go through tribulations and anguishes, right? The Lord said that's for y'all who needs to be corrected, right? Purified in a sense, you know. Verse 20, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness. So out of all the information the elders of Great Millstone, like-minded men on down, been professing, people still not going to change from their ways. Nor be always mindful of the scourges. Verse 21, behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth. Victuals, it really goes back to food, but victuals will really be your essentials today. So it goes much beyond food. Hell, gas is an essential today. The whole world really needs gas, but you don't need it to stay alive. You get what I'm saying? You don't need it to you don't need it because you can't consume it. But you get what I'm saying? Like you don't need it for your health. You know what I'm saying? But mankind has created what you need it for your everyday task and survival in this sense. You know what I mean? Because you have tribes down in Brazil that don't even know what a cell phone is or email is. You know what I'm saying? Probably never heard of Michael Jordan. They still alive though, right? Without our modern day technologies in the Middle East. Okay. Forgive me, Salaki. Behold, victory shall be so good. I'm sorry, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 21. Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils go upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Remember that they shall be in perplexity. It's great confusion. It's great confusion right now because you don't know, even in the market, they don't know whether to bid now or to bid later. Blah, blah, blah. Should I buy a gallon of milk? Should I buy a gallon of gas? It's just everybody don't know what to do, you know. For many of the, here comes the point of me reading this passage. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So it's like the art of war. Starve out your enemy. You don't even have to fight them. This is so many. I'm telling you, so many tactical ways to win in a war. You have embargoes. You have sanctions, right? You have insurgents. So many ways, you know. But many people are going to die from hunger. And we live in a society where people can't go 2-3 hours without stuff in their face. Hell, when the last time they actually did a fast? You know what I'm saying? So a lot are just going to perish from their health, and because they don't even have a proper diet, their immune system is shot. It's just all over the place. But nonetheless, though, let me close out with this one. Isaiah 66:16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. That's spiritually and physically. In the slain of YAHAWAH, in the slain of the Lord, in the slain of YAHAWAH shall be many. So starting off with hunger, many gonna perish. But the Lord still gonna plead with the rest of you flesh with fire and the sword. So with that being said, I truly pray y'all will edify and fast, stay in the spirit, no fear, just endure it. Ask for forgiveness, pray without ceasing, stay humble, remain diligent. Buffalo Bubble, Shalom.